I'm going, dude. Oh, I don't care. I don't care.
Fischer Flecker.
Yo guys, what's up? Sleepio here. Today I wanted to show you my PvP build. And yeah, it sounds weird, a PvP build in this patch, or in this game even. But yeah, I decided to make at least one PvP build, and yeah, here it is. Before I get into the build and the guns I use, I wanted to show off the specialization real quick. So I decided to go for Firewall for two reasons. So first of all, the armor kit is really good. I personally think that the survivalist armor kit is a little bit better, but 200% armor and 200% health over 10 seconds is also not bad, and you can just pop the medkit as soon as you enter a fight, get a little bit of damage, and then you have a huge advantage in the fight. The other reason I'm running this specialization is this talent, Fury Response. On armor break, apply burn to enemies within 5 meters. So this is really good, I think, because if you're long range and your armor breaks, then you can just medkit, or you are just dead because you got one-shotted by a sniper or something. So it doesn't matter anyways. And if you're close range, then it will most likely be within 5 meters. And if your armor breaks then you at least set the other guy on fire, so you can kill him. Because if he burns, then he can just hip fire. And while he can still hit a few shots while hip firing, chances are pretty low that he will actually kill you. So that is a really strong talent, and I just don't think there's many other talents that are really good for PvP. Survivalist is an option because it has an equal armor kit, and it also works for your teammates, but it doesn't have that talent. So yeah, I don't know. I think Firewall is just the best, safest option for PvP right now. Let's get to the guns first as always. So for this build, I actually have a few options. I personally like to play the Eagle Bear. I'm pretty sure not everybody will have it because it's from the raid. Not everybody can do or wants to do the raid. But if you have the Eagle Bear, then I would definitely recommend trying it. Another really good option is the Pestilence, because it is really good against shield players, since you can apply that debuff on the shields, even while they're invulnerable if they have Vanguard. So that is really strong, and well, as soon as the shield dies because of the debuff, it just swaps to the player and then he will die afterwards. So you can basically tag him on long range and then literally wait until he dies. Since Eagle Bear is my main gun, I will just explain the talent here a little bit. So the first part of the talent is Eagle Strike. It increases your accuracy while you fire up to 30%. It used to be 100, but unlucky. The second part is Headshot kills grant tenacity buff for 15 seconds. And the strength of tenacity is increased by 1% for body shots and 5% for headshots. So each headshot increases that tenacity buff a little bit. So if you're playing against somebody that's not running glass cannon or is super squishy, then you will most likely stack that buff up to 80%. Because it starts from 40 and goes up to 80. That means after just 8 headshots, you would be at 80% already. And then with the headshot kill, you will activate tenacity. Assuming you got the 80% damage reduction, then the damage taken is reduced by 80%. If you play that gun to its max potential, then you can actually face trade 2 or even 3 players, as long as they are not playing, I don't know, one-shot snipers or something, like Nemesis in the back. You can't counter that, of course. But it's pretty good for aggressive play, and that's why I prefer it. The accuracy is not as good as it used to be, so in long range it's not that great. That's why I'm playing an M1A right now. If the M1A gets nerfed again because it's too strong still, then I will just play a different rifle or anything else for long range. But yeah, M1A is just the best rifle right now. It's just something for long range. That's the only reason I play it. And that's the two guns I'm playing. Let's get to the skills now. So I would run the Defender drone. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's still really good. And I don't know, I'm not a fan of shields. So yeah, I prefer the Defender drone. And in PvP, I would always run the Scanner Pulse. It's just really good, especially with the time to kill. You want to know where your enemies are coming from. The range is really long, the cooldown is decent, and even though you have 40% pulse resistance in every specialization nowadays, or 50 even, so every specialization has 50% pulse resistance. That means everybody has that, not just you. Oh, that's unlucky, I guess, but well, what can you do? Pulse is still the best skill for PvP in my opinion. Alright, let's talk about my gear now. So as you can see, I'm playing a 4-piece gear set. I will come to that later. First, I want to talk about the two high-ends I'm playing. So I'm playing the Fox Prayers right now. They give you rifle damage. I'm playing a rifle, so it's not too bad. The reason I'm playing those is because of the 15% damage to targets out of cover. I will come to the core attributes and minor stats later, but for now, just keep the damage to targets out of cover in mind. If you decide to play LMG, then I would play the Contractor gloves and then True Patriot knee pads. So the build would look like this, because the Contractor gloves give you 11 damage to armor and also the LMG damage. So overall, you will benefit more from that, even though you have 4% less multiplicative damage, but 10% LMG damage. I mean, I would definitely take that if you play LMG. But since I don't, I will still run the out of cover damage Fox Prayers. The second high-end piece should be your chest piece, and that definitely should be the chest piece because you want the talent Unbreakable or Efficient. Either Unbreakable or Efficient, both are decent. Let me quickly show you Efficient before I go over Unbreakable. So Efficient has a 50% chance to not consume your armor kit when you use it and increases the bonuses of the Specialization armor kits by 100%. So for the Firewall armor kit, that means, I would assume that it means you get 400% more armor and 400% more health over 10 seconds. If it works like that. I actually didn't test it, but I mean, I assume it works like that. It wouldn't really make sense if it doesn't. So Efficient is definitely really good, but I personally prefer Unbreakable. When your armor is depleted, repairs 95% of your armor cooldown 60 seconds. In PvP, it is half of that, so around 50%. The brand set for the chest that I choose is a Fenris right now because I'm playing Eagle Bear, which is an assault rifle. But there are two other chest pieces that are also really good, which is the Seska chest piece with crit chance. That would actually put me on a crit cap with the build I have right now. If you decide to go for headshot damage, then you obviously don't want that. But if you go for a crit build, then this is definitely a valid option. And the last chest piece that is really good would be the RNK chest piece, because you get 15% incoming repairs, which also works for Unbreakable. Sadly, I don't have a good RNK chest because they are really hard to farm. They always come with a defensive mod slot, which is fine, I will come to that later. But they also always come with skill tier, and that means you need to get the attributes right and the talent right, and that's really hard. And that's the two high-end pieces I would play. Let's get to the gear set now. Alright, so True Patriot. The 2 and 3 piece give you 30% ammo capacity and mag size. The ammo capacity is kind of useless, the mag size is pretty nice. As you can see, my Eagle Bear normally has 60. With that, it has nearly 80. So that's like 20 bullets more. That's pretty nice. The 4 piece is called Red, White, and Blue. It basically is a rotation between 3 buffs, red, white, and blue. Every 2 seconds, those buffs rotate. The red buff amplifies the enemy's damage taken by 8%. So you basically do 8% more damage. The blue buff decreases the enemy's damage by 8%, so he does less damage to you. And the white buff basically repairs your armor every second for 5% when you have it on the enemy. If you have all buffs on the enemy and he dies, you will create a 5-meter explosion, which is pretty nice, but rarely ever helps. So as you can see on my head right now, you see the free buffs rotate, and when I shoot with the blue buff, then the enemy will have the blue buff. If I then wait for the white buff, he will get the white buff, and when I wait for the red buff, he has the red buff, and then he has the full American flag. When you kill the enemy, then he will explode. Yeah, just like that. So that's true Patriot. It is really good, mainly for the red buff that amplifies the damage, and the blue buff, because, I mean, getting more damage and also avoiding damage is really good in PvP. But the white buff is also really good because healing yourself is also pretty nice, especially since you don't have that many armor kits in PvP. I do have the True Patriot backpack, which also has a talent that improves the red, white, and blue buff. The red and blue buff from 8% to 12%, and the white buff from 5% to 8%. So that's pretty nice. And you need the True Patriot backpack anyways, since you will either have the gloves or the knee pads as a named item, and then you will definitely have the chest for Unbreakable. So there's no way around having the True Patriot backpack. That means you will always have that buff, at least with this build. That's the talent and the gear I'm running. So let's get to the attributes now. I am running 3 pieces on armor and 3 pieces on weapon damage. So that's basically a hybrid, I guess. 3-3. And that basically puts you on 1.3 million armor if the armor rolls are maxed and you have the 10% armor from the SHD level, which I have. As a minor attribute, I play crit chance, I think everywhere. That's the thing, another thing with gear sets. They only have one minor attribute. The incoming repair is from the mod slots. So gear sets always only have one attribute, as you can see on the holster here. But as I said, I think I have crit chance everywhere except on the knee pads. Those are my PvE knee pads. I will not reroll those. But I mean, I think I'm on 50% crit chance right now. Yeah, around 50%. That's pretty good. It could be a little bit higher, but I mean, some crit damage is also not too bad. For the mod slots, I would go for crit chance if it is an offensive mod slot, for example on my chest. And if it is a defensive mod slot, then I would definitely go for incoming repairs. I have incoming repairs 2 times, one time on the backpack and on the mask. And the max value for incoming repairs is 20%, so with over 19 you are pretty good to go. For me that is around 40% more incoming repair. That makes Unbreakable way stronger, because it's not around 50%, it's more like around 80% of your armor. That is in PvP. So incoming repairs is really good, and that build overall is it just works perfectly for PvP and what you want to do. That's why I think Unbreakable is a little bit better than Efficient as well, just because the incoming repair will work for Unbreakable. If that wouldn't work, then I would maybe even run Efficient, because 50% bonus armor is nice, but it's not that huge. I also played around with the exotic armor, but sadly that is bonus armor, and the incoming repair doesn't work on bonus armor, so that will always be 40% in PvP, and 40% bonus armor is not worth it in my opinion. And that's gonna be it for the build. I added some gameplay in the beginning, and if you wanna see more, I made a manhunt video a few days ago. I will also link that in the description. But yeah, as always, if you like my content and wanna support me, make sure to drop a like and maybe subscribe to the channel. See you in my next video. Bye!